I'm Andy Nidell, and this is another edition of Out of the Ether, where I sit here in the chair of wisdom and basically read some of the best, most controversial, or our favorite comments that you have written about the Great War. Okay, FHS Real Films writes, the original Verdun forts were built of masonry and were surrounded by deep ditches. Gun ports in the ditch protected it from enemy troops who entered it, while the fort's main weapons, artillery guns, were in above-ground gun batteries, open to the air. The artillery revolution caused the French to re-examine the design of these forts. What they decided to do was to cover the forts with a thick layer of sand, followed by another thick layer of special concrete scree, followed by a final layer of earth. This placed the fort's superstructure well underground. The exposed gun batteries were replaced with massive armored turrets that were designed to raise into position, fire, and then retract while the crew was reloading. Despite the fact that all this was done manually, a trained crew could raise a twin 75mm turret, fire, and retract in 6 seconds. Scale paintings of the surrounding countryside with distance pre-measured to known landmarks allowed the gun crew to set range on their guns while still retracted. Each gun had an associated armored observation dome, and smaller machine gun turrets provided close-in protection of the fort's glacis. The ditches were improved too, with special counterscarped bunkers built facing into the fort's ditch. These bunkers, armed with rotating cannons and machine guns, were designed to enfilade the ditches and mow down any attackers. They were linked to the main part of the fort by tunnels that dropped down and under the ditch. Some more improvements were the Borge casemates, armed with 75mm guns and constructed of steel-reinforced concrete. They were sighted to provide flanking fire towards other forts, screening them against attack. When properly manned and equipped, it was a formidable system. The 75mm turrets could be loaded with special shells that were basically huge shotgun shells used to blast concentrations of enemy troops off the top of the fort if necessary. The machine guns could protect the counterscarped bunkers from attack. The bunkers protected the ditches and forts, and other smaller strongpoints, gun batteries, infantry shelters, etc., all formed an interlocking ring. Of course, Douaumont was practically abandoned when it was taken, and Vaux, which still managed to put up a good fight, was not fully equipped on account of a lucky hit that had detonated a powder magazine and blown off its 175mm turret. Now, to answer the question the fellow asked about why some forts worked better, the reason Vaux, Douaumont, and some other Verdun forts resisted the shellfire so well compared to the Belgian forts at Liège or Namur had to do with that layer of sand I mentioned. The sand acted as a big cushion, isolating the inner masonry from the vibrations of the shells and absorbing some of the damage. The exact composition of the concrete scree was different too. While the Belgian forts were quickly pounded to dust, the Verdun forts that had benefited from the modernization plan did remarkably well. They sustained damage, but were still functional and effective. That was really good. Wow, that was a great one. I learned a lot from that one. Amanda King. Did you know that Washington, D.C. This is by Amanda King. I'm not saying to Amanda King. Well, kind of to Amanda King. Amanda King says, did you know that Washington, D.C. had a poison gas development site during 1917 and 1918? I didn't know that, actually. It was on the then rural area of American University and surrounding farms. After the war, the U.S. Army blithely buried mustard gas artillery shells and left. The area became known as Death Valley. Further U.S. presidents lived in the area. 70 years later, it cost the government millions to dispose of the armament. The following is from a Los Angeles Times story. Since 1993, the Army Corps of Engineers has removed 84 chemical-filled shells and more than 1,000 conventional munitions, plus at least 44,000 tons of contaminated dirt and debris from the Verdun campus of American University and the manicured lawns of Spring Valley, one of Washington's most prestigious neighborhoods. Wow, that's pretty impressive. The toxic trash dates from 1917 and 1918, when the military leased the then rural campus and nearby farms to test gruesome gases. After the war, soldiers and scientists buried lethal leftovers in unmarked pits, calling the area Death Valley. See, that was all complete news to me. Thank you very much for that, Amanda. And it reminds me of France, of course, still struggles with leftover gas. There's the Zone Rouge where people are not allowed to go. And it's pretty terrible how even 100 years later you still have contaminated poison gas regions left over from the war. Actually, if you'd like to see a special we did about gas warfare, you can click right here to see that. I hope you like these Out of the Ethers. I really enjoy them because I like, being able to spread some of the fantastic comments we get that are really educational, and also because it takes no work for me at all to do this. I can just read them. So, see you next time.